We like to believe that being human is something we learnt, that our shared instincts come from culture, education, and tradition. But some of what defines us was never taught. It was already there, older than language, older than belief, and older than memory. When people talk about humanity's shared inheritance, they usually reach for safe explanations. Skills, tools, stories, things we made. That framing is reassuring. It keeps the discussion polite and manageable because it implies that what unites us is learnt. But it also avoids a more unsettling possibility that some of what binds us predates our culture entirely, and not everything human was ever constructed. We can trace agriculture spreading from the Fertile Crescent around 10,000 BCE. We can watch metallurgy move across Europe and Asia over millennia. We can follow pottery styles village by village, because cultures leave fingerprints, but that explanation collapses everywhere. By 100,000 BCE, Neanderthals in what is now Shadar Cave in modern-day Iraq were burying their dead with care. And at roughly the same time, early Homo sapiens in Khwazaf Cave in present-day Israel were doing exactly the same thing. No contact, no shared symbols, no shared stories. And yet the same behaviour emerged independently. Placed bodies, deliberately positioned, and objects that clearly those people cared about. And these were costly acts. They take time, they take up resources, and all of which would expose you to danger. They serve no obvious survival function, which already tells us something very important. Because at this stage in human history, language is completely unstable, grammar is not fixed, symbolic systems are fragile, and yet the behaviour is already precise. It's being repeated, intentional, and shared. This is not storytelling. This is something far, far older. The Paleistocene world was not merely dangerous, it was opaque. There were no explanations for failure, no casual narratives, no moral accounting. Hunger arrived without warning, disease without any kind of pattern, and death, well, death always arrived without justification. And in environments like this, humans don't look for philosophical answers. Instead, they look for leverage. When outcomes feel arbitrary, organisms search for correlations. And humans notice something quite disturbing. Loss, when chosen, changed how uncertainty felt. Deliberate cost created psychological order. Now, this isn't metaphysics. It's behavioral economics way before economics even existed. Loss is visible, loss is measured, and loss, it cannot be faked. Intentions can be claimed, and convictions can be performed. But surrendering something of value, it proves seriousness in a way that nothing else ever did or ever could. So what emerges first is not belief, it's a pattern of action. Something is relinquished, publicly, deliberately, at real cost. Food that could have sustained life, animals that mattered, time that endangered survival. Not because it was good, not because it was kind, but because it worked. By the time modern humans began dispersing out of Africa, roughly 60 to 70,000 years ago, this logic is already in place. It's not been taught, it's not been written, it's not been debated. Already, it's operational, which is why it reappears independently across the world, in different environments, with different symbols, the same underlying structure. And much later, tens of thousands of years later, the gods appear. And when they do, they don't introduce this logic. They absorb it, stabilize it, regulate it. Religion never invented sacrifice. What it did was formalize a behavior that is far older than belief. And this is exactly where the discomfort begins. Because the behavior isn't noble, it isn't enlightened, and it isn't gone. It's an adaptation forged in the conditions of pre-civilized terror. And adaptations don't disappear just because the environment improves. And we still behave as though suffering authenticates value. We distrust effort without cost. We equate struggle with legitimacy. We instinctively devalue systems that ask for nothing. We reward burnout. We moralize exhaustion. We admire those who destroy themselves for abstract ends. Not because we are cruel. We're not cruel. We're doing it because something very old still recognizes that signal. This is not a cultural relic, and it's not a superstition. It's a truth that we fully understood way before language could fully articulate it. And that's why it still governs us, quietly and relentlessly. Because sacrifice is older than belief. It's older than language, older than our shared memories. And the world that required it may be gone, but the instinct that learnt it is not. Which is why we still offer it, even though no one is listening.